Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to some more Total War Rome 2 Dividi et Impera. Today I have an absolutely humongous battle for you guys. This has over 24,000 soldiers on the field. This is a 3 vs 3 and it should be pretty goddamn exciting. On the right hand side we have the forces of Sparta in all their glory, their Thorios, Thorax and Hoplites ready to throw down. In the center we have the Insurbri, the men of Germania in their heavy armor, or actually maybe men of the Alps. I can't even remember where these guys are. Around the area. They are ready to hold their shield wall in the center. And then on the far left we have the boy with their elite heavy infantry ready to cut through anything that they come up against. Coming up against them we have the Seleucids. Obviously their hoplite formations and their pikes are almost impenetrable from the front, and as you can see them, they are looking goddamn glorious off there in the distances, and pikes just wiggle around as the soldiers just flex on the enemies. In the center we have the VTI. These guys are a nomadic tribe or in the Alps, and they are mountain warriors through and through. Definitely a strong faction. Then supporting their flank, we do have the Numidian tribes with their elite horse archers, their mobility in their infantry, and that skirmish capability. So it should be a very exciting battle. You can see the sides are getting closer and closer to one another. If we take a look at the overview of the battlefield, we can't actually see the entirety of the Numidian force. A lot of their soldiers are in kind of that ambush stance, so they can hide in plain sight. But it does look pretty heavily like the Numidians have kind of taken over the majority of the cavalry. There's not really a lot of cavalry in the rest of the Seleucid forces. We can see the elite elephants up here, but I love the look of these guys. And DI does a pretty good job when it comes to elephants in battle. They are pretty tanky, they demolish cavalry, and they can get themselves stuck in pretty heavily. The Spartans obviously are going to be rocking with a pretty light front line of spears. We've got a lot of these 300 plus man weaker spear units. However, again, in Dividi et Impera, the bigger units generally do a very good job at holding the enemy in place and keeping them at bay. They're never going to be slaughtering hundreds of soldiers. That's going to be up to the more elite soldiers, and you can always tell what units are elite and what units aren't. I thought we were going to go to that Spartan unit, not the other side of the battlefield, but it proves my point. You can see right here, these guys are heavy melee infantry. There's 200 in the unit rather than 300, so generally these guys are going to be a higher quality. Doesn't mean that they're not going to be strong though. Sorry, but the other units who are 300 man deep aren't going to be strong, as both sides do continue to close in. And that's a little bit of skirmishing right here. We have a lot of these light missiles here ready to pour some missile fire on the front lines. Also, I do also like this from the Insurbri. They actually have a unit of spears out front, a pretty elite unit of spears as well, whether they need to absorb enemy missile fire or just basically stop any cavalry charges from coming in, because a lot of the time you do see players lobbing cavalry into the missile line to harass them. So having this unit up here is not a bad idea, and that is a wealth of missiles. However, the Seleucids are also going to be retaliating right here. They do have a couple units of their satrapy slingers, which are going to be lobbing in some more ammunition and actually just decimating these light missile infantry. The Insurbri missiles are not here to be able to missile off with the more kind of shielded version that the Seleucids have. Obviously, as you can see, the Seleucid slingers do also have shields, which gives them that little bit of extra missile resistance, whereas the light archers from Germania have absolutely nothing, and they're paying for it, that is for sure. The Veneti are pushing up as well, getting closer and closer with some of their medium spears. Going to be really trying to take on the Insurbri from the flanks here. And that's something you really have to do, because these Insurbri spearmen are a brick wall. They have 23 melee defense, 28 armor, the morale's 52, which is pretty goddamn decent, and they can also handle elephants as well. You've seen this in the tournament matches I've done, but these guys right here are a very, very scary foe, and really the Seleucids are going to have to try and get some of their units round the side if they expect to bring them down. Does seem like some of these Hastati Veneti are being chased down a little bit. However, they are going to be able to get a nice little volley off here from javelins. And yeah, I think definitely using the missiles is going to be a great idea as the rest of Veneti close in on the Spartans. However, they need to be careful not to get 2v1'd. Obviously, we have a lot of pretty elite Spartan infantry moving over right here. These guys are scary if they get themselves stuck in. You can see the true solid formation of the Greeks here. 4 units of heavy sword infantry there. Does seem like so far, though, the Lions are coming in as we do get a nice little charge here. The boy General standing up to the Chad in his name and actually lobbing himself into the side here. He needs to be very careful. You could lose this General pretty quickly, and the battle would be definitely on the back foot. Oh, this is also a pretty good formation to adopt here right now. A checkerboard formation for the boy. This is basically to stop the Numidian cavalry from getting behind them and causing some pretty big upsets. And right now, as you can see, the formation is pretty well set here. They're kind of defending that flank and then really focusing down on this front line right here. Obviously, it's going to be up to the boy if they want to try and envelop here. They definitely will have to put some pressure on. Obviously, the main goal here is just have the Numidian lighter infantry and the skirmishers really try and keep the boy at bay, and then really try and push up here in the front lines, and obviously onto the Spartans as well, as we do have the medium hoplite phalanxes pushing forward. It's kind of funny as well that they have light spears. The Greeks have the light spears, and the barbarians have the hoplite infantry, but it's just getting peppered by javelins. That's one of the other really good things about these 300-man blocks of lighter infantry, is they get a couple javelins to throw. And, you know, if you get, 600 javelins thrown at you, you're going to lose a handful of men that way. So, again, it's a great way for DEI to make these lighter units that you generally just phase out in battles actually really useful. As well as that lighter infantry is much faster in the game, and you'll see that, these hoplites will not be able to keep up with the light infantry. If they keep pulling back, it's going to be up to the Veneti to engage parts of the forces, basically preventing these guys from falling back right now. So they just need to keep on coming up, see if they can disrupt the phalanxes, and then just envelop them. We have the entire battle line right here. Oh my god, the pikes being brought up here, the heavy pikemen, and yeah, you can see the Insurbi falling back. And this is just such a great move. There is no reason why they should engage the Seleucids right now. And that's why you kind of almost need these lighter infantry to push forward and engage them, and then have the pikes pursue them. Because if they try and do this whilst they're engaged with lighter infantry, they're going to get punished. But this is obviously also a downside as well, because right now you could quite easily bring round infantry here and start putting pressure on the flanks right there. So pulling back like this obviously has its advantages. You do not want to fight the pikes, but also obviously leaves them very vulnerable. You can already start to see this unit of spearmen pushing its way through. The missiles as well, obviously ideal for taking out these pikemen, are definitely losing their fight against the slingers, who are putting a lot of pressure. Even the Veneti are working very well together to keep on hitting them. However, this front line is going to obviously form a nice little death box right there, so they can also do the same. They're going to try and, I only assume, kind of form this little like bowl formation here, so that as the pikes get deeper and deeper into this formation, they can just push off. We'll have to see both these guys do hold here though, and then just have infantry obviously coming around the side will be pretty good. This unit of boy infantry, which did get committed here, has been surrounded and obviously dealt with pretty nicely. And the Numidians are causing a few issues right there onto the elephants. However, they're going to be getting screened out quite nicely. And the boy are going to continue to push this way around. I mean, obviously, they need to get themselves stuck into this battle as quickly as possible. Otherwise, at the moment, they're fighting kind of an uphill battle right now, as more of the Numidians do get ready to push through here. We are getting with Spartans now as well. The pretty heavy Spartan infantry. These are the 4-axe Spartan swordsmen. And you can see these guys really going at it, able just to, take on to the elite soldiers on the flank. And I'm very surprised there's not really a lot of cavalry on the field. There's a handful. The Veneti have 4 units, but they're being kind of, closed off by the side of the battlefield. The Insurbi have a couple. There really isn't as much cavalry as we're used to seeing. But again, with a battle as big as this, it doesn't actually surprise me actually that much, to be honest. Because there's just no space to maneuver with that amount of cavalry. Obviously, every player does try their best to give as much room for their opponents. Obviously, the red line is a bit arbitrary, whatever that word is. You guys know what I mean. So sometimes you kind of just have to give a little bit of slack for your teammates and your opponents. But even still, it's still very hard to maneuver, and that's why I kind of like the idea of picking like a dedicated cavalry faction that will just kind of take care of that in these bigger 3v3s. As I said, there's like 24,000 soldiers. I believe each army has around about 4,000 soldiers. So that really does add up. Oh, a nice little move here by the Numidians. Again, they are perfect at these bigger 300-man blobs, light infantry, and a lot of javelins. It's going to rack up some decent kills into the side of the heavy phalanxes of the reformed Royal Spartans. There's not much that can take these guys on. They look absolutely amazing. However, a brave Spartan has gone down there. How many more will fall as they fight against these barbarians from the north? I also really like this as well from the Spartans. They bring a lot of javelins as well. They're just kind of at very much close quarter force there is pretty unbeatable from close range. And I think the Spartan javelins, like just really leaning into that close quarter combat is great. You can see the Reformed Royal Spartans just killing everything in their path. This unit has not lost a man, or one of these units has not. This unit's lost 5 men and killed 35, so a 5-to-1 KDA right there. And the Spartans are winning pretty much across the board here against Veneti. And this flank is starting to curve in as well. Obviously, we have to be so careful because they have 3 units of cavalry right here, but even still, that's not a bad setup. Does seem like this unit of Veneti cavalry as well is quickly trying to outmaneuver their opponents. However, there are enemy cavalry quick on their heels. As we get further and further back into the battlefield right now, just the sheer amount of soldiers obviously causing a little bit of FPS problems. I've got 20 FPS right now. That's what you get when you get these huge battles. You know, Total War was never meant for battles this size. Ever, ever, ever. However, it's amazing that we can still do them. And you just go ahead and click on slow-mo, and the battle runs pretty well. You know, it honestly does do pretty decently when we do go on that slow-mo. It's just a real shame there's no battle sounds when we do go on this slow-mo. It'd really make the game if there were slow-mos, like back in Medieval 2. Oh, and I love this unit from the boy, this big old great sword unit. I know the Irish have this as well. It's a really cool Celtic swordsman unit. They have very high melee attack, obviously not much melee defense. 18 melee attack is absolutely wild. A unit that can just really get themselves stuck in and collapse in on their opponents. So some really nice damage there as they continue to throw more and more soldiers. However, as you can see, the Seleucids with their pikemen have caused a huge gap, a huge void. And if I was the Numidians, maybe, I'd be seeing this and maybe trying to get my cavalry through here to then rotate around. Obviously, being Serbia throwing more of their soldiers against them, we do have some of their pretty heavy oath-sworn infantry now being committed against the Peltists from the forces of the Seleucids. We even go down a little bit of a slow-mo camera as well as we go down the battle line. And really enjoy the sheer fighting of these warriors. Oh, we have the Silver Shield Swordsman over here. I've used these guys in a campaign, in a head-to-head, and I'll tell you, they do some serious work. As you can see, they actually only have 52 morale, but 16 melee attack, 12 melee defense. It's just a solid, probably one of the best sword infantry units in the game. Very expensive, and their cost definitely does make it a little less inviting in a multiplayer battle, but still very nice indeed. As we continue to go down this battle line, as the missile fire ranges down onto the Spartan hoplites as they fight in the shade, preparing themselves for whatever is to come. We also have some elephants back there as well. Hopefully we'll see the Seleucid elephants making their way in. The Spartans preparing themselves. Already battle hardened as the swords give them a biting rest for the moment as the sun comes flying down onto them. So it makes its way through the clouds itself. More Spartans being lobbed into the fight. Very epic indeed. Really, really cool stuff as more soldiers get committed around this side. If we take a look at the overall field, we can see the Numidians are playing their real support role, just committing their soldiers wherever they need to. The Veneti cavalry does seem like it might just get around here. However, they are going to be playing a little bit of a diversion force right now, sending some cavalry here to go into the back of the light spears. This is great. This will probably end up breaking the enemy soldiers. Luckily, the soldiers don't break immediately. However, as their numbers really drop down and they get tired, this unit will be going. And it's going to free up a big supporting flank here for the Veneti, finally able to use that cavalry to their advantage. The boys still are playing very passive right now, only committing a handful of units, and they're mainly committing their units against the Numidians, which are going to have a good time of. You can see this unit has killed up to 37, but is receiving a lot of the missile fire. I mean, realistically, the boys should be able to rip through these guys pretty effectively. They're kind of being a little bit caught off guard here, you know, being delayed down by the enemy position, so under a little bit of pressure right there. As we go back down to the main battlefield, you can see the sheer strength of this medium phalanx infantry. The Helvetii spearmen, they're just so good. They really, really are. They can basically just keep the enemy at bay from the front, and even being outflanked, the morale is very high as well. I don't know why they have their swords out though. They should have their spears out, but seemingly they don't. The pikemen are also having their backs turned, and I'm sure that the Veneti will go on them immediately. As you can see, like, even when they're a little bit outflanked, they still just hold very effectively. Luckily, they're not really outflanked by the most elite soldiers in the world, but still able to really get themselves stuck in here. And the pikemen are once again falling back. I think they're trying to just kind of fill up this gap again. and continue on that pressure. Look at that. Even this Lucid Furious Swordsman here, or Spearman even, sorry, having a little bit of pressure. And it seems like a bit of a retreat here. The Veneti are struggling as well against the Spartans. You see big breaks, however, this flank has completely collapsed as the Elephants come in here from the Seleucids here. It's such a good shock infantry, and I think one of the biggest keys to playing these Elephants is just knowing when to throw them in and when not to. You really have to hold these guys on for like that immediate shock value. Also, it's a great idea, you know, holding on to these guys, because the enemy generally use a lot of them javelins, or they hold off the javelins for the elephants, which can be just as valuable. And you can see them just running through the enemy infantry, causing mayhem as they go. 111 kills, 118 kills on them so far, as they take no prisoners, and that is going to be a massive collapse. The Veneti cavalry is fully committed here, along with some support from the Numidians. However, more infantry from the Insurbri committing themselves to this fight as best as they can. The front line, though, is looking a little bit shaky as the boy continues to commit more and more soldiers around, really wrapping around this flank. The boy have literally done nothing this fight, really. But they are winning. I say that. They have committed the infantry when they need to, and they just haven't really needed to commit this entire army yet. But they are beating back the Numidians, as we suspected. The Numidian front line is, you know, is not meant to really hold the enemy. It's their cavalry, their skilled riders that does that damage. And up against Oathsworn from the boy. They're not going to be able to take that down, are they? And that's going to put the entire Seleucid front line in jeopardy, and they are truly in the doghouse right now. Even with the support from the very light Hypasus, which again is great. I love... DI is just such a good game. They make every unit work. There's very few units in this game, with very few unit types, that you can't make work in these battles, you know? It's just such an amazing mod. And I definitely do miss playing it as much as I used to. The Elephants coming in, just causing tremendous amounts of damage. Like the battle. I mean, I'm sorry. I know I went off the topic and now I'm going back, but the battles are just unmatched in any Total War game. Just the sheer like unit balancing. As I said, you make any unit work really. Whether it's weak, whether it's like low tier units, high tier units, javelins, missiles, slingers, heavy cavalry, light cavalry, elephants, chariots, shock infantry, pikemen, phalanxes, like all them units work, and they work very effectively. Which just leaves you to have such a good varied force, it really does. It's absolutely amazing. Oh my god, the boy have turned 360, and now they are coming flying into the flank of the Seleucids. The Seleucids are in a lot of pressure right now. The band's power is even, but I think that the barbarian forces have this, supported by their Spartan allies. With the cavalry coming in, even the elite pikes of the Seleucids are going to be up against it. And I mean, just look at this flanking force. The Numidians are in full-on retreat. They're able to take out a handful of soldiers. However, this is a fighting retreat the Numidians are playing, committing, you know, handfuls of soldiers here and there that are just getting eaten up by the elite shock infantry. This unit of Celtic swords is up to 113 kills right now, and there are plenty more to be had as they send the Numidian forces back. Over here as well, we have another unit of very light melee infantry. They're not really going to be standing too well. And there we go. I think we've hit the unit threshold now where my FPS jumps back up to 50, which is very nice indeed. There's always like a certain point when enough soldiers die that my FPS kind of gets back up. And it's around about the 12,000 mark. Because I think that's generally what the game maxes out on, performance-wise. Oh my god, look at this guy just doing press-ups in the middle of a battlefield. Just, you know, basic training underneath the pikemen. You know, like they used to do in the MG42 nests to simulate training. This time it's pikemen in the ancient world. And them elephants are just on an absolute tear. Up to 600 kills now. You know, this unit is expensive, but you can just see how much damage it can do. It really just rips through the enemy and tramples on so many of them. They are close to breaking now, and I believe they are under a lot of missile fire. Yeah, the boy are bringing around their missiles. Just like the Numidian cavalry is going to come in and try and support them elephants and try and break the Insurbri general. However, the Numidians with the boy as well, with Veneti, have cleared up their flank against the Spartans, and this battle is very much over. The Seleucids are finding themselves completely surrounded. The Numidian cavalry has done its job there. Not a ton of kills on them, but they kept a large amount of the enemy at bay. However, unfortunately not able to do it for long enough. And now the boy are getting into that battle. We have the Spartan general here as well. putting on his last stand. Veniti, though, coming in, they might be able to save this Seleucid line. I mean, that's a big thing, right? That is a big thing. If Veniti can get in here, they might be able to reaffirm this line. But I feel like there's an entire fresh boy infantry line here. The Numidians are obviously causing pretty big mayhem. And you see the battle has been completely turned on its side. The Numidians, the Seleucids, and the Veneti have kind of formed up. And now it's just the boy coming in. So, I don't know. Actually, maybe I take that back. Maybe I was getting a little bit confused on who's on what side. Because this battle is such a mess right now. But there's a lot of Numidian cavalry still left, I guess. The Seleucids are a unit to hold. I did zoom in on that unit, but it immediately broke. The Veneti are coming in to reinforce. But we have some of the Insurbri still left remaining. Supported by that full boy army complement. That warband is arriving. I don't know why the camera is taking me on such a wild goose chase. I'm not doing this. This is the game doing this. Now I'm doing it because that was giving me motion sickness. But yeah, having that reinforcement of the boy is going to be pretty scary. That cavalry coming in as well is going to be huge. The Veneti obviously going to be running a little bit of screening there. The Numidian cavalry are going to be looking to try and get around the side here. But there's also war dogs still left remaining. And unleash the dogs of war on the enemy cavalry. However, the Numidians are fast. They're mobile. And they can get the hell out of there. Whilst also throwing javelins and causing some pretty decent damage to their opponents. The boy able to get in here. And doing some obviously serious damage against Veneti. Their swordsmen are, you know, more than capable of taking care of these guys. And besides, very light phalanxes. They're going to take themselves down. However, they have done a decent job. 79 kills on a unit as light as this is not bad whatsoever. More Numidians now reinforcing. Trying to stop this bleed, this, you know, this stem of the tide from happening. And the Seleucids are just always one of them units that can hold the line. And now that we have reinforcements from the boy that might be able to help them out. No, sorry, they're up against the boy. Yeah, they're up against the boy, sorry. The Veneti coming in and going to be able to help them. Do a pretty decent job. But the boy are on the side of the Seleucids here. This pike formation is finding themselves a little bit vulnerable right now. But they are also, you know, bronze shields. Bronze shields do a very nice job at holding. Regardless, more pikes is kind of protecting that flank. The boy with a perfect rear charge there onto the Royal Peltis. But again, they are Royal Beltis, so they might be able to just keep the enemy at bay. However, I think they're so close. They've got a war cry on them, and with that general ability, that was enough to send them flying. The pikes quickly turn. However, the boy do fall back with the Insurbri stuck in there. The Numidians are fighting bravely, trying to push back this barbarian horde. However, with their allies, it's just not enough. And the battle is looking pretty good, honestly. I mean, balance of power is very much in favor of the Numidians. But there's a lot of Numidians breaking right now. The boy counter-charging here against this lighter cavalry. And obviously the lighter cavalry, you know, this isn't their goal. Their goal is to skirmish, whittle down the enemy. Now, these more prolonged engagements being embedded in enemy units is not going to be good for them. But they are holding the enemy in place so that the Seleucid pikemen can now advance in. Some more pikes going to try and catch a horse or two. I don't think they're going to be able to. As that is friendly horses. Sorry, I don't know why I'm getting so confused on who's on what side. It is a little bit confusing when the battle is just as disrupted as this. And we don't have clear culture divides. Oh, a nice charge here by the Veneti. Into the back of the boy. It's going to be enough to break them. And I mean, yeah, it's looking pretty good, right? The Seleucids seemingly have this one. But the boys still are fighting on bravely. With all this Numidian cavalry in here just pinning down the enemy. The soldiers are getting tired, and once the soldiers get tired, it doesn't really matter if you are super elite or super weak. Exhaustion affects every man the same. And this cavalry is just obviously superior right now. More of the Seleucids commit in, trying their best. But again, the Seleucid infantry is very low. They're obviously being thrown in to try and save the Veneti allies. And we do have a unit of pretty elite silver shields here, holding back the enemy line as one of them gets chucked over. The boy champions. Holding firm. Two, like, absolute colossuses on the battlefield. Oh, as one of the silver shields drops his sword, ready to put his arms open. Ready to meet Alexander in the afterlife. More cavalry by him. This cavalry is probably what's going to win the battle, honestly. I mean, the Veneti cavalry chasing off the Numidians. However, the boy are going to be committing in there with their elite cavalry. I mean, as I said, the Veneti have a lot of very elite cavalry still left remaining. It's just whether or not they can hold in. Obviously, the Veneti and the boy are going to have way better horses. Wait, again, the Veneti are on the Massalian side. I'm such an idiot. I apologize. These guys need to commit in here, though, and try and deal with this general. This is the only general left remaining, or the only cavalry unit left. And, you know, whilst they put them in place, you're going to see the Numidians just harassing this front line. And now I can start to see how the Seleucids are going to pull this one off. Just the sheer amount of cavalry. They can pin down the general, whilst everything else comes flying in. And even though they are winning the infantry fight, the boy are fighting bravely. It's this cavalry that's going to lose them the day. And obviously the general for the boy are going to go down. But I mean, my god, what a battle. Besides me getting really confused about who was on what side, which is really easy because you can just tell by the border. Like, the red is going to be on one side and then the blue and yellow are going to be on the other side. But it's been a little while since I've done these Rome battles. And yeah, I mean, even with that sheer amount of, even with that sheer amount of infantry advantage, you can see them going down. But I mean, my god, what a close battle. I mean, just look at the battlefield as well. It's littered with soldiers. Like, oh my god. Like, this battlefield is one for the ages. I mean, just look at that. That's insane. As you can see, the sheer number of soldiers we had on this battlefield was absolutely insane. Yeah, I think literally just over 24,000, right? Because this adds up pretty much to 12,000. This is over 12,000. So yeah, 25,000 almost soldier battle. Insane. Let's take a look at the kills. The Spartan general getting over 300 kills to be expected from a man such as him. However, the rest of the Spartan army really kind of lacking in their kind of punch, their killing capabilities. They did okay, but nothing too special besides that general unit. The Insurbri, they obviously have that main front line of spears, which just hold inevitably. Really nice stuff there. And then the swords, which are the ones who do the most damage. The boy coming in, and obviously, as we expect, I mean, my champions, 300 kills, 100 kills, 200 kills. Pretty goddamn juicy. 200 kills, 200 kills. Goddamn, the boy really did that damage. Yeah, 2,400 kills on them. You can see they did a pretty nice job right there. Over on the other side, we can see the Veneti. 400 kills on their heavy infantry. Over on the Seleucids, who have a pretty elite force. 600 kills on the elephants. Definitely the MVPs. And then finally the Numidians. Their cavalry all did an amazing job towards the end of that battle. A really nice play here by them. The Messalesli, it's always impressive to see someone use them correctly. But obviously, you got to give props as well to their ally. These guys would not be able to do what they did if it wasn't for their allies holding that line. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle. If you guys want to see more Dividi et Impera battles on the channel, just make sure you drop a like and a comment down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one.